Hi, this is Cake from GEM Financial Modeling Academy. So today we'll be considering calculating project days using timing flags. And just as this diagram illustrates that the period in between these two points is the project dates that we want to calculate. Alright, so we've got our, our timeline, our model timeline. Then we've got the project start date and the project end date. Alright, so in order to calculate the project days, in order to get the project days here, we need to have the timing flags calculated as well as the project days, So let's get it started. The first thing we need to do is to get the number of project days in the first period of the project. This is what I mean. If you look at the project start date, you see that it is 1st June 2021. So we need to look up on our model timeline to look at where 1st June 2021 falls. So 1st June 2021 will fall here. So let me identify that part by using 4 of these signs. Okay, so that is where project start date falls, and we also need to identify where our project end date falls on our timeline. So let's go to the end, towards the end. What's our project end date? That's 30th August 2025. So let's go towards the end, 30th August 2025. So it should fall within here. So I'm going to mark that part also with this sign. Okay, 30th August falls here. So having identified this point, if you look at that, you see that if we are to take the number of days between this and this, you identify that it's going to give us something like 90 days, because we are talking about 3 months here. January to March should be 90 days or 91 as the case may be. And so, but because our project is starting at these dates, we need to the number of days would not be up to 90 days or 91 days. Rather, it will be from the project start date till the end of this financial year, and that is what we need to calculate first: the financial year end date minus the project start date. So I'm going to go right here and put the financial year end date, which is started June 2021, minus our project start date. Project start date is 1st June 2021. I'm going to log that with F4. Alright, so that gives me 29. So 29 days are the number of days between our project start date and the end of the financial period there. Alright, so let's go also to the end date, which we also need to calculate. So it is from 1st July 2025 to 30th August, which is our project end date. So project ends 30th August 2025. So that's the second computation we are going to do here: number of project days in the last model period, which is project end date minus the financial start date. Alright, so 30th August minus the financial start date. So we're going to compute that here. So let's see how that goes. So equals the project end date, which is 30th August. I'm going to log that with F4, minus the financial year start date, which is 1st of July 2025, and that will give us 60 days. So this is for every other period in between this project start date and project end date. Of course, there will be the difference between the financial year start date and the financial year end date. So let's go compute that in the third row. Okay, so number of project days in model period, which is financial year end date minus financial year start date. So I'm going to do that for all of the column on that row. So it's going to be financial year end date minus financial year start date. So I'm going to extend that, Control Shift forward arrow, Control R. So this is what we have got. Now we need to compute the timing flags. Our timing flags is going to be 3. We are going to have a timing flag for the project start date, just as we have computation of the project days for that, and the project end flag, as well as the project period flag, exclusive of the start and the end date. So this is exclusive. Alright, so how do we then get to flag the project start date? The project starts, when is that? Project starts 1st June 2021, so we want to flag that period. So it's going to be equals to, you can use your if and because we are going to be having two logicals. Alright, so it's going to be the project start date logged out with F4 should be greater than or equal to the financial year start date, comma, as well at the same time our project start date should be lesser, logged out with F4, should be less than or equal to the project the financial year end date. So this is what we've got. We want a situation where we want to know where our project start date falls. Of course, it should be greater than the financial year start date, but less than the financial year end date. So it's going to be within, in the middle. So that's what we want to capture with these two logicals. Alright, so if that is correct, that's the logical test, comma, we should return 1, otherwise return 0. Okay, so this that's the calculation that we've got to do there. Okay, now we need to extend this forward, Control Shift forward arrow, Control R, and when you do Control R, you see that it has flagged the project start date, which is this point. Alright, so at the same time we need to get the project end flag. So just as we have computed, if with the AND function, the two logical will be now the project end date, which is started August 2025. I'm going to log that with F4, should be greater than or equal to the financial year start date, comma. Also, the project end date should be logged out with F4, less than or equal to the financial year end date, so that we'll be able to capture where the project end date falls in between these two dates. Alright, so if that is true, so that's the logical test. Value is true, should be 1, and value if false will be 0. Okay, and we close that, Control Shift forward arrow, Control R. So if you do Control R, you see that it has actually flagged this date as being the project end date. So we've gotten those two flags. Now we need to consider the project period flag. So in getting the project period flag, we need to be careful here, because we also need to write the simple if statement. So the logical will require an AND function. Okay, so our AND function will be that the financial year start date is greater than, I'm not going to include equal to, because it is exclusive of the start date and the end date, is greater than the financial year start date, which is 1st of June 2021. I'll log that, comma. Also, that our financial year end date, it's less than, or we are not going to use the equal to, so it's just less than the project end date. So log that to F4. So what are we trying to get here? What we are trying to get is that our financial year start date should be greater than 1st of June 2021, because we want to capture these two periods on our timeline. So 1st of June to 30th 2025 should be captured on this timeline, and that's why we are using a greater than and a less than here. Okay, so if that test is correct, then it should return 1, otherwise return 0. So, and we have our figures here. So if we extend this going forward, Ctrl Shift forward arrow and Ctrl R, so you see that it is not including the project start date, and it is not inclusive of the project end date. So you can see that there. Alright, so we've gotten our 3 flags. The next thing is to calculate the number of project days in the period. Alright, so calculating the number of project days in the period does requires that we multiply the flag first, the project start flag, with the project days, the number of project days in the first model period. So that's it. Then you need to add it to the other ones, the flag for the project end date multiplied by the project end days days that have been calculated, then add again with the normal project days. So use this project period flag multiplied by the normal project days, so if you don't want to use the plus sign, you can as well use the OR function. OR function can also do the same work. Alright, so having gotten that, we just need to hit enter. Those are the 3 items that we have computed that will enable us to get the number of project days in the period. Alright, so Ctrl Shift forward arrow, Ctrl R. So you can see that we have been able to get just the project days in the project period. The start day of the project period requires 29 days, so like that. The project end day requires 60 days. So this is how to calculate the number of project days in the period using your timing flags. These are the timing flags that we have used. We have used the project start timing flag and the project end timing flag, as well as the project period timing flag, which is excluding the start and the end date flag. Okay, so even if for consistency's sake you might want to also calculate like we did here, we only computed for the project start date. You can as well extend this formula for consistency's sake to all other cells. So I'm going to drag this as well to the other cells, but our formula will still work because we have used our timing flag to actually erase them out. Alright, so like this is 0 plus for this is 0 times this 1 for, of course, is going to give us nil. So that's why it is only for this that it will compute for 90 days. So that's what we have there. Alright, so let me extend this for consistency's sake. You can as well extend it forward so that your formula will be consistent across the column on that row. Also, we have just one cell here, but I hope you got the logic. The logic, our emphasis is on this 60 for this, and our emphasis is on this 29 for this row. So all other cells, we have hit them out with this timing flag, which is nil, 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 nil. So nil times this figure is going to give us nil. So just as well as all this, which is nil, will give us nil all through. So you can see the logic behind it, that our answer, the number of project days still remains, irrespective of the fact that we are maintaining consistency in our formula across the column. Alright, so all of these steps that have been broken down can as well be written just in one formula block, you know. So the project days which you subtracted is in this bracket, multiplied by the flag for the project start flag, the project end flag. We compute the difference in the period and multiply with the project end flag, while this is the project period flag, which we multiply with the project days. Alright, so you can as well write it in one formula, because this is not too long for you to have in your financial model. Alright, so that is that about this, how to calculate project days using timing flags. How to calculate project days using timing flags. So if you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe, and also remember to turn on the notification bell so that you can receive our subsequent tutorial. So thank you.